The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome and good evening, friends, on Connect Easy. Today we have this joint session with Jain Chartered Accountant Federation across India. We have CA Pradeep Kapadia sir with us. A wonderful session on this special webinar on bank audit using technology. Technology is must as an practicing or as an industry. We cannot ignore technology. We see more and more in entire session. We have our guest speaker, CA Dungar Jain sir with us from Madurai. We welcome you, sir, and thank you so much. You are taking session across India. Right now, also you are taking session from Bangalore. Thank you so much, sir. We have seen last year also a similar kind of session on technology, on bank audit, on tax audit, on multiple aspects. The one of the key aspect of sir is sir can write from both the hands. So we have seen that also on online. And we have our chief guest today, CA Amarjit Chopra sir, past president ICAI. We welcome you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We are very grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. First, I would like to request CA Pradeep Kapadia sir, President, Jain Chartered Accountant Federation Mumbai, to give a welcome address for our today's session, sir. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Virag, and good evening and Jai Jinendra to everyone. First of all, let me tell you, it's Virag. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Connect Easy, because this is the platform. I think you have been, I would call you as a pioneer of webinar, and you have been the person who has taken the most advantage of the COVID period, if I'm not mistaken. You have, I think you must have done in that period more than 400 odd webinars during this 2-3 years, Virag, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, and we have been so fortunate. Jain Chartered Accountant Federation has really been very fortunate to have you. You have given us that platform, so we can jointly do more than 100 and odd seminars with you also. And what is most, I think, what is the best part of it, Virag, your connectivity with all the people. You can have Chopra sir, you can have Dungar Chandji, and you can have so many luminaries on the this thing on the platform, which would have been not possible if Jain Chartered Accountant would have thought of it. But because of you, or you are a part of us only because you are a member of our Jain Chartered Accountant Federation. But because of you, we have been in a position to have so many great people and so many learned things. And they have been, I know Dungar Chanjeev, and I heard him, you said last year only about the technology, how to use that. And to hear him is always a treat, let me tell you. So I'm so happy to be with you all. And I would wish, and I would not think that I would waste a lot of time on this. And I'm so happy that you are also connecting our youth also. You have connected Hiral today, who is also, they have recently, a chapter has been opened by Borivalli chapter, where she is, I think, Hiral is the secretary, if I'm not mistaken. And
no, convener for editorial committee and in organizing committee.
I think, but on the contrary, I thought you were heading the show with Kavita madam. Anyway, but this is where, because of you are connecting people along, so I think Virag, the credit should go to you, because this is where the youth, they get this platform and they can open out. What is more important, they can, once they come on this platform, they open out and then they will start exploring everything. For them, then it would not be difficult. And I'm so happy you have Rupesh Ji Jain. Rupesh Ji, you are from which part of India?
Rupesh Ji is from Mumbai, sir. He is our growth partner, MSME. He will also.
But then Virag, I think he is still not a member of JCF. I hope he should become the member of JCF. So yes. You should, it's not very difficult, www.jcf.in, and only 1,100 rupees is only what is the life membership. And I think Dungar Chandji Jain is already a member, if I am not mistaken. Otherwise, Virag, it is your duty to see that they become the member also. So thank you very, very much for giving us this opportunity. And I'm waiting to listen to Chopra sir and to Dungar Chandji Jain. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pradeep sir, for your welcome address. And I would like to now request CA Pankaj Dara, who is also a passionate professional, to welcome and introduce our today's chief guest. So over to you, Pankaj bhai.
Thank you, Virag sir. You have given me an opportunity to introduce a great faculty like Dr. Chandji Jain in front of C. Amarjit Chopra. I have listened to Chopra ji a lot in many seminar in Shega. He was in a buyer Bullingford when he was speaking on forensic audit. We'll continue for that, sir. Acknowledge Amarjit Chopra sir. Thank you, sir, for the session. And Dungar Chandji जी, आपके बारे में क्या कहूँ? आपका नाम ही काफी है. आपने अपने नाम में डूंगर लगा दिया है कि जिसके वजह से उसको चढ़ना भी कठिन है और उससे उतरना भी कठिन, और उसमें भी आपने टेक्नोलॉजी का तड़का लगाया है. मतलब बैलेंस ऐसा किया है आपने. इट्स अ ग्रेट बैलेंस बिटवीन अ माउंटेन एंड अ टेक्नोलॉजी. हाउ कैन अ माउंटेन मिक्स अप विद अ टेक्नोलॉजी? आई एम आल्सो ईगर एंड डिलाइटेड टू सी बिफोर यू. Giving the academic side of the sir, it's very difficult to say. In 2005 he qualified for this firm and became a chartered accountant. And in 2000 he was a chairman, secretary, and hold various positions in Bombay Chartered Accountant Society and SIRCs, and a major post holder is. It's a very small person to speak. I'm a small past chairman of Jalgaon branch, a very small person to speak a big personalities like Amarjit Chopra sir and Dungar Chandji Jain. Sir, आपके लिए बात याद आती है Dungar Chandji. Just I like to highlight that technology is hand in hand in modern days, like you said in your references in the lecture. Before we were just informally talking. Similarly, professionals are equivalently facing the problem how to handle this technology in the cases of fraud. So on behalf of the members, I'll request you that while we do a routine audit of a bank audit, like formalities of LFER and etc. So there are many kinds of smaller kind of firm where I read upon a misstatement of a statement or accounting standard, which says about we have to cumulatively rate our misstatement in a statement format. So can you also highlight that point? I will be very delighted to hear how to handle this fraud, malpractices, digital transactions issues in the bank audit also. And this way I complete my small brief introduction of Dungar Chandji sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. Now I would like to request C. Amarjit Chopra sir, past president ICAI, for his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Virag, and thanks to Pradeep Kapadia sahab, and of course Pankaj ji, Hiral, and of course good dear friend, younger brother Dungar Chandji Jain. I think he can be considered as the king of Madurai, or I think the rising star from the south. Let me put it that way. It has been I think when you called me and you told me that I have to speak in a webinar which is more on the technology, use of technology for the purpose of bank branch audit, I was thinking that you are asking Harbhajan Singh to open the innings basically in a cricket match. He was at the age of 70, 71. What kind of technology? But one thing is absolutely simple. So far as the branch audit is concerned, when I did my first central statutory audit way back in 1991, it was Punjab and Sindh Bank, I can name it, but because there is nothing adverse about it and nothing good about it. When we used to consolidate, I think the consolidation ledger used to run on almost 3 tables. And you had to move from one table to another to tick those entries basically, and could be longer even for that matter. The things kept on changing gradually, I must say that. In 92, the prudential norms came. Everything was to be done manually. Everything was to be done manually. The entire identification of NPA was to be done manually. Today, the Reserve Bank of India has directed last year all the banks that if the NPS identification is not through the system and there is any manual intervention, the banks will face heavy penalties. And some of the banks have already been levied penalties because I think they had given the date as 1st of July or so last year. So the Reserve Bank of India has been very active on this, that the kind of audit which used to be there, it cannot go on. We never had CBS system. Then we started having CBS system. And CBS system also got further diversified. And many other softwares have come, many other systems have come. Every bank has gone more or less on Finacle now. Earlier, the banks used to have different systems basically running in the same branch, which were not compatible even. Now, all those things are gone. These have become a matter of the past, if you ask me. Now, I think one of the duties of the auditor could be to find out that whether on a single IP on the same day, whether there are multiple logins. Because if there are multiple logins on the same IP on the same day, it means the passwords have been compromised. So the entire audit process has to undergo a change. You cannot remain what you are. I still remember that few years back, when one had to go for audit of the bank branches, particularly in the rural areas, and you will be confronted with thousands of agricultural advances of very, very small size in a particular branch. Not to take out the details that how many accounts of these are actually NPS based upon the non-recovery was a difficult task. And I, as a central auditor, in one of the banks, 4 years back or 5 years back, we were sitting in the circle office. And from the circle office, we could identify that thousands of the agricultural advances, in which not even a single penny had been received for 3 years or 4 years, continued to be classified as performing assets. Now, that is the beauty of the IT. Otherwise, it would not have been possible. But that also meant one thing, that the IT systems were compromised, and probably the NP identification was not through the system which the bank had been claiming. And frankly speaking, Dungar, I will like you to really deal with this particular problem, which I am going to now speak on this, because when we are talking of audit through technology, and RBI is thinking that public sector banks have the kind of technology where the branch audit is not required. And that is why this 80% to 70% and this hue and cry that PNB does not have a vacancy, Central Bank doesn't have a vacancy, Indian Bank doesn't have a vacancy. And probably this year, not more than 1,000 to 1,200 firms have been accommodated as the new auditors. And primarily, and that has also happened because of the two banks. One is State Bank of India and other one is the Bank of India. Otherwise, there are hardly any vacancies in any other bank. The point I am trying to drive you home, Dungar, and of course, Virag and everyone, if you people can join in that discussion. In the public sector banks and private sector banks, there is a one major difference. And that major difference is, in the private sector banks, all the records are digitized. Whatever stock statements, whatever debtor statements, whatever creditor statements are filed by the borrowers, these are digitized and these are available at the central office level through the system. Whereas in the case of the public sector banks, this is a myth. There's nothing like digitization of the records. And if the RBI has been comparing public sector banks with the private sector banks, saying that if in the private sector banks,
Right, sir.
No branch audit is required. Why the branch audit should be required in the public sector banks? I think it is required only because of the fact that none of the public sector banks has digitized the records. Suppose one has to find out whether DT has been calculated based upon a stock statement which is more than 6 months old or less than 6 months old. How do you do that in the case of a public sector bank? Now, one of the answers probably from the RBI or someone could be that the date of the stock statement would be given by the bank in the system. But whether the date is correct, I think that's the moot point. And I can tell you, at least in the public sector banks, these dates are myth. These dates are not factual. And more importantly, all these stock statements which are being filed in the public sector banks, when I say all, I say majority of these stock statements which are being filed in the public sector banks by the borrowers, particularly in the case of the working capital facilities, these are coming from here. These are not coming from books of account. If these were coming from books of accounts, we would not have been required to change in the Schedule 3 and the CARO. I was the chairman of that committee, in which we have said very clearly in the Schedule 3 that management will certify that all returns which are being filed in the case of the working capital requirements beyond 5 crores, that these are as per books of accounts. And in CARO, the auditor is supposed to actually make that assertion whether this is as per the books of accounts. Because if you ask me and you try to compare, because unless the records are digitized, I cannot compare the stock statements of the earlier years with the financial statements of the earlier years at the central office level. I cannot do it. There's no way that a branch auditor of a public sector bank can do it. This can be done only when you go to a branch. You look at the files, and when you look at the files, then only you will be able to find that what is happening is whatever stock statements are filed at that particular point of time, as per the audited balance sheet, the stocks are 50%, the debtors are probably 40%, and creditors are 3 times in the audited balance sheet. Now, how you can do it? You cannot do it by sitting at home. You have to do it by going to the branches in that particular case. So that is why the branch audit is required. And that cannot be done through the system because these points are not captured by the system, unfortunately. We keep on talking about the technology very highly. It's a fact. But then can these points be captured by the technology? My answer is no. And the second thing, the quality of the debtors, the aging of the debtors. How do you analyze sitting over at the central office level? I think you will have to move to the branch level in those cases. And one thing more that I will like Dungar to actually touch upon is these non-financial parameters very clearly require 2 things. One thing, whether non-renewal, the renewal of the account is overdue by a period of 6 months. Now one can say that it can be reflected by the system how long the renewal is overdue. I can bet it. I'm not saying it appears. I can bet it in a good number of cases these dates are absolutely unknown. These are not correct dates. How do you do it without going to the branch? And the second thing is with regard to the stock statements. Now, stock statements I have already touched upon because if the stock statement is older than 6 months, the account has to be classified as NPA irrespective of the fact how good the operation in the account is. I can personally feel that through the technology, the system may be able to catch based upon the fund operation, which account is performing or which account is not performing. But it cannot catch the other way around. But there also, I will look at it. Another point I give to the Gurji when I talk of the technology, fallacy of the technology. Let me put it that way. Now, suppose there are dishonored checks. A check of 10 lakh is dishonored, first credited and then debited. Now, when I look at the cash credit account, the amount of credits in that particular account, whether these meet the interest debited It will say it meets the debit. Now, how do you look at it? But then your technology facilitates now one thing, that you can program your audit program in a manner that whether any, or you can ask for those kind of exception reports basically, whether there are any such entries in the nature of dishonored checks which have been treated as credits, and whether those have been actually treated for the purpose of meeting the interest debited in the account. I can tell you, technology may be wonderful, artificial intelligence may be wonderful, there is no doubt about it. We may talk of anything that this is going to facilitate, this is going to reduce the burden. One thing is definitely going to happen, and that is where the scope of the audit is increasing, our risk is increasing. Earlier, I could take a sample, and I think Dungarji would agree with me. I could talk of a sample, but now with all this database available to me, can I talk of a sample? They will say the entire data is available with you. You can have any kind of command and you can analyze the data and can make out which account is NPA or which account is not NPA, where interest has been debited, where interest has not been debited. All those things are possible today. But this data analytics is something which we must understand. I was reading somewhere, it is not important what kind of software you are using. It is not important what kind of tool you are using. You may have the best on the most sophisticated tools. You may have the best of the software. You may have the best of the technologies. But who uses it? Whether he has the common sense to use it or not. And whether he can analyze that data or not. I think that's very important. Now, if we are expecting that the system will throw out even the analysis thereof without the requirement of being analyzed, I don't think that's going to happen. Ultimately, the responsibility for that would lie with me. I'm giving just one simple point with you. Every bank has got an IT scrap policy. Dungarji, I think this is one of very important issues which as a branch auditor I must see very frankly. And this is one of the important aspects which the technology makes me liable somewhere. Every bank has got an IT scrap policy. No, you have in the branch, you have got the computers which have become outdated, which you scrap. And now those computers you sell out in the market. Sale of computer is not important to me. Sale of hard disk is important to me. You cannot sell a hard disk. You have to destroy a hard disk manually under all circumstances. And as an auditor, this is my duty. Believe me, this is my duty to make sure that I have to ask a question, have you sold out any of the computers during the year? Have you sold out any of the laptops during the year? And if you have done that, what did you do to the hard disk in respect thereof? And whether that hard disk was scrapped, was destroyed, and how it was destroyed. It has to be destroyed manually. It cannot be destroyed other way around. I think the technology in its own wake will bring us a lot of challenges, if you ask me. You have wonderful tools today. You can talk of CAD, you can talk of analyzer, you can talk of idea, you can talk of anything. But ultimately what is important is who uses it and how much he uses it or she uses it, basically, for that matter. To what advantage it can be put, what advantage you can actually take of that. And another thing that I would like to tell to every auditor is, branch auditors, and I think again, I will like Dungar's comments. I may or may not be there, but I will definitely like your views on that particular matter. Some of us want the data from the bank. Now, first reaction of the branch manager is, I can't make you available any data. Data is available at the central office. The servers are there. Server is there. You have got an IFSC code, which gives you the branch code. And based upon that code, the data can be provided to you. And when that data comes to you, you should not ask for the live data yourself. Don't handle in the system the live data under any circumstances. Using the live data in any system by the auditor is the biggest problem. Ask for the delimited file basically, and ask the file in a text form and the delimited file, and then audit it. And if you want to convert it into Excel, convert it into Excel, whichever way you want to do it. But don't ever in your life get live on to the system, because if you do it and something goes wrong tomorrow, you will be hauled up like anything. And as a branch auditor, I cannot take that risk under any circumstances. There is no way that I will take that particular risk. So what I am trying to tell you is that we all believe in technology. There is no doubt, and technology can be used to the maximum extent. Technology can be used to the minimum extent. Of course, people like us don't want to use technology at all. We are very happy with the manual intervention today also. All restructuring, if you ask me, how the restructured account has to be manually intervened. Restructuring does not happen through the system. But then there is an edit log, and get into the edit log and find out how many manual interventions have taken place during the year. And if the edit log is not there, then what purpose does it serve? What kind of technology I'm actually talking about? Because if the account in a branch has been restructured, it cannot be restructured through the system. It has to be restructured through the manual intervention only. And edit log must provide that. And if you get into the edit log and you find that there have been manual interventions and some accounts have not been shown as restructured loans, I think the things are available with you. You must be the happiest person, because you will be having your MOC on the day one, without doubt. So I think the technology can be used. It can be abused. Some of the people abuse it. Some of the people use it. I think we have to start making technology useful. But we should not be the slaves of technology. That I am very clear in my life. I cannot be slave of technology. I will like to have the technology in my office, but at the same time, I will like to apply my common sense also on all the items. Unfortunately, when we were doing chartered accountancy, I will say unfortunately, and I think Pradeep Kapadia ji would also agree with me to an extent. At that time, there used to be no computers. All totaling we had to do manually. And today also, when I go to a chemist shop or some other shop, when he starts totaling, I have done it already by heart in my mental. And I tell him this is the total. He says, how come? I said, I'm an old chartered accountant. I'm not a new chartered accountant. And today you tell your article, just 4 entries you give him, and he will sit on the computer to total it up or on a calculator to do it. So one cannot be slave of the technology. One has to be the master of technology. One should use the technology, but one should not abuse the technology in the sense to camouflage the things, basically. That's what one is trying to tell you. I can tell you the branch audit is there this year. Next year, the Reserve Bank of India has already told the banks that they can decide the percentage of the audit on their own. What will happen next year? Nobody knows. I think out of the probable 35,000 firms audit panel, total panel would not be used more than 12,000 to 13,000 firms. Next year it could be lesser, it will not be more. I am quite sure. Unless the institute can intervene and convince the Reserve Bank of India, private sector banks are different from the public sector banks, somewhere or the other. I think we can convince them. It's not difficult to convince them. We can give them the examples. Whether it is with regard to the stock statements or it's with regard to the debtor statement, creditor statements, any other statement for that matter, or financial statement for that matter. So I think we have to start doing it. I can only wish the youngsters all the best for the use of the technology, and not only for the use of the technology, basically for the best of the or a very happy bank branch auditing, basically during this particular year. rely on the technology to an extent, but also use, when you analyze the data based on your common sense also. I think that's very, very important to me. Thank you very much, Virag, for the opportunity, and thanks very much, Pradeep for the opportunity. Dungar, I have raised certain issues with you. If you could really touch upon those issues, because I personally feel, whatever RBI may say, there are many areas which are still vulnerable and which cannot be done sitting over in the head office or in the, you can say, zonal office or somewhere else. For certain things, you will still have to visit the branches. And I can tell you one point, that of course, one thing that you can do, of course, through the system is the checking of the interest. But when you even check the interest debited, suppose the rate of interest has gone up or gone down, one thing that you are supposed to check is the value dating. Suppose the interest rate went up on 15th, but you have actually started applying it from 20th. That's the fallacy of this situation. Technology, it is all how you feed. Ultimately, in computer, when the computers came in, we used to say garbage in, garbage out, basically. I think to an extent it holds true today also. Whatever you feed, whatever you actually punch, that is going to come out. In certain matters it may not be, but in most of the matters it's going to happen, particularly when the interest rates undergo a change. This is one of those things which is going to happen. I have been saying, take the case of the packing credit limits. Now, whether packing credit limits are being used for the cash credit purposes, because if a company is exporting also and using it for domestic purposes also, whether the system will be able to throw it out, I am very, very doubtful about it. So again, I would say technology, adoption of technology, one thing good, it must be used by the auditor for the purpose. But then at the same time, looking at the character of the branch, looking at the nature of the branch, looking at the nature of the business for that particular matter, one should use the technology only to that extent, and rest of the things can still be done through this particular brain. And brain is the best computer of the lot, because you ask your nani, you ask your dadi, she will tell 60 years back on this marriage, so and so gave this much shagan, whether it was rupee 1 or rupees 1.25. Whereas we may not be able to remember it today, but she will be able to tell what was done in that particular, which sari was worn by whom, basically in which marriage. She may be able to narrate you. So this is the best computer for that matter. This is the best IT system for that matter. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. So nice to hear you, sir. Always, uh, uh, we have invited in the past. Also, we will invite in future. Also, it's like a music we are listening, sir. So thanks,
No,
thank you, sir,
I will
for
not say
wonderful.
that, but I will definitely say that ask Harbhajan Singh to. There is no doubt about it.
Would like to request now CA Hiral Mehta ji to give a formal vote of thanks to our past president Amarjit Chopra.
Yeah. Thank you, Virag ji, for connecting me with this event, because it's been nice to see Amarjit Chopra ji after such a long time. I have been have headed one other seminar in COVID period time. So it was nice hearing you, the thoughts which you have moved into the bank audits, branch audits, how the computers have replaced the manual system of the manual brains, but still the brains will be having a major constraint, a major role for working out with the technological updates. And rightly you have pointed out everything, so thank you, Amarjit Chopra sir, on behalf of JCF and Connectivity. I give a formal vote of thanks, and heartily and sparing your time in this tight schedule is also important to consider with. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Hiral ji.
Thank you.
Now I would like to invite CA Rupesh Jain ji. Rupesh ji, are you there?
Dungarji, at this point, I will like to leave. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Thank
But
you. Thank
whether
you.
this will be available on YouTube, your program?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir. I am sharing
Will
the
you
link
host it?
right
Because
away.
send me the link, because then I will be, I will like to listen, Dungar, on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to invite CA Rupesh Jain ji from eMSME who is our all the CA's growth partner, we can say. MSME Sarthi, how we can help the MSME. So would like to request Rupesh ji to start addressing the attendees. Over to you, Rupesh. Sir, you are on mute. Rupesh ji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm CA Rupesh Jain from eMSME. So basically, at eMSME, we are a tech company creating tools for tech-based solutions for the MSME clients. So I would just like to give you a brief description about it. So we are creating a new age tool for creating avenues for CA profession in respect of government MSMEs. And our portal is at eMSME sarthi.emsme.com. So in the first place, we see opportunity to enhance services to the MSME clients. We CAs being basic, most of our clients being the MSME clients. So how can we increase the enhance the services to the MSME clients? The when we talk of MSMEs, government has set up a huge budget of 15,000 crores for more than 500 schemes to support. Sector is pretty much unstructured, and it needs a more of physical and hand-holding support. It's not on the ERP platforms. It's not fully digitized. The sector is a backbone of the economy. It already contributes to 30% of the GDP. Assisting the sector we can help the sector increase the GDP and be a part of the nation building by increasing this. So at MSME Sarthi, we are trying to add a new stream of services which has a huge potential for revenue and value creation for the country, for the MSMEs both. So as of now, currently, when we see what are the requirements of the MSME on the finance front, so we can see half or a little bit more than half of it would be on the the major area where the CAs are practicing, which is GST, tax compliances, accounting, TDS, although but almost 40 to 50% would be on the other side, which is more of with respect to consulting on the schemes which the government has been providing, or the financing solutions which government has been which he would like to avail for growing his business. So as of now, you're already we are already serving the clients, and the same clients are grappling with two major areas which are the schemes and the financing solutions. And there are very few practitioners who are actually catering to those needs of the MSME clients, because there are no digital solutions. We have digital solutions for ITR. You have tech platforms for serving the needs of ITR or TDS. You have tech platform for GSTs, where you can scale your practice because with the help of those digital solutions. But in this area, there is no digital solution. And with the way the digital world is growing and increasing awareness, those businesses, those MSME clients would be looking for other consultants or other fintech companies for these solutions if we are not catering to these things. So what we are saying is that add the entire you have the entire MSME services suite under the one roof to your MSME clients, so that they don't have to look over here and there for any of those services, which is the more value creating for them. So what is actually eMSME Sarthi platform? What we have done is, till now, just before this, I'll tell you, there are more than 300-400 schemes hosted on 89-90 different websites as of now for the MSME to know which scheme is actually applicable to him. Out of those 500, 20 or 30 would be applicable to a particular set of MSME who is operating in a geography in a particular industry. So usko kaise pata chalega? How does he know, or how does the CA help him know what schemes are actually applicable to him? So that's where this platform comes in. So what we have done is we have coded the entire schemes into our platform. and whereby entering his basic credentials in less than 5 minutes, an MSME can get to know the schemes which are being made for him. So at the SARC platform, we have a database of pan-India schemes, easy to navigate basis the business criteria. A single source, instead of going to 8990 websites, at single point you have all the data of entire MSME schemes. Not only help them know which scheme is actually applicable to him. So it filters out and gives you the list of schemes. It also gives you exact amount of benefits, the easiest process to apply, instead of reading that 40-pager MSME scheme document being hosted by the different ministries or by different departments like state government, central government, leather ministry, or a COIR board. उनके 40 पेज का डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ने के बजाय we have coded it in a crisp manner and brought it down to in a simple understanding language कि उसको apply कैसे करना है, कहाँ apply करना है, what is the amount of benefits. And we have also developed the team of experts. So if a practitioner wants, he can take the help of our expert panel for the end-to-end fulfillment of the schemes. If he wish to help the client avail, he can obviously help himself avail, or if he says that I am not an expert or I don't have a time to serve to those needs, he doesn't have to ask his client to search for any other consultant. He can help him from sitting in his office. He can help him get the scheme. Also, we have developed one more platform called Compliance Health Check in the SARC, where an enterprise can get to know what all the types of registrations and licenses are required for his business type and his geography. आज कोई business शुरू करना है तो उसको क्या-क्या licenses चाहिए. So that is also coded on a platform where by entering his basic credentials, he will get to know कि मेरे को what all are the mandatory registration and licenses are required, what all are the recommendatory licenses registrations required. So the benefits of using the SARC platform, we have a team of experts who are regularly updating the scheme database. We do not only have updated, we have regularly working on it. So it's a real-time updated scheme information and not based on past knowledge or experience. It's a database which is live updated by the experts on a regular basis. We have network of experts, as we said that we have our in-house expert team, plus we are creating a network. We have a network of experts who can help you get your clients avail the schemes. We already have tie-up with banks and financial institutions. We are working with multiple banks and financial institutions like ICAI, IDFC Bank, Yes Bank. We have arrangements for other registrations like Z or GEM, Trades platform. So which all help the clients in the various manners to upscale his business. These MSMEs need help in upscaling the business other than the compliance need. We have experts providing regular training and webinars to the MSMEs. So we can help your clients on the giving webinars for the schemes, regulation, registrations, and availment of these schemes. So this is how the platform looks like. Over here, if you see the portion know your schemes, from here you can just enter basic credentials. And in basic credentials, when I say किस geography से है, male है, female है, what is the ownership structure, whether it's which caste it belongs to, what industry is looking for, what is the trade segment, and whether it's a new or existing entity. In these basic simple steps, out of those 500, he gets to know what is actually applicable to him. The biggest problem of the awareness is solved in these simple steps. So we have a team. We have a team of 50+ people, and out of which 20+ people are working on these schemes in different roles. And very soon we are going to bring this for the CAs on a subscription package to help them create new avenues for their MSME clients.
So thank you, Rupesh ji. A wonderful product and wonderful initiative for all the chartered accountant, I can say, and all the MSMEs across India. So thank you, Rupesh ji, and thank you, Sachin ji, for this wonderful initiative. And this will be a game changer for chartered accountant and their client as well. So now I would like to introduce our guest speaker, CA Dungar Jain sir, who is waiting from last 40 minutes around. So we welcome you, sir. And sir is a commerce graduate and chartered accountant in practice from Madurai. Sir is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in India. Sir has passed DISA examination in 2005. Sir has also done forensic accounting and fraud detection examination in 2021. Sir, you are really inspirational, sir. At this age also you are learning and motivating to us also to do a new courses and the new examination to be passed out, sir. Sir is in practicing since 2005 and currently a managing partner of PSDY and Associate Chartered Accountant, having offices at Chennai, Madurai, Cochin, Bangalore, and Pondicherry as well. Sir is elected as, sir is already a past chairman of SIRC, and sir also nominated in many committees at various organizations like Bombay Chartered Accountant Society, Regional Direct Taxes and Advisory Committee, IT Committee at Chennai Chartered Accountant Association. So with this brief introduction, we welcome you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and would like to request you to take the proceeding ahead for our today's session, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Virag. In fact, when Virag says only thing you can do is you can change the date to one date or another. That's all actually. In fact, very, very happy to share my knowledge to the maximum members possible. Probably thanks to your program last year, the number is only increasing actually. In fact, I would like to start with where Amarjit Chopra has rightly put some pointers, and he has put some valid questions, and he has put in his own impeccable style that technology can only be an aid and never be a substitute. Which, though I'm a technology man, I keep telling that, and anything you deal in an audit, you have to take with a pinch of salt. Probably he gave a 360 dimensional view to quote perfect examples where technology failed. So I always tell technology can work only in an environment where you assume everything is right and every information is available which is right, which actually is not so. So we assume and do things, but at the same time we have to keep our eyes and ears open, which technology will no way give you the answers to, which you have to look into it. And the best example I always quote is of one of the airlines we lost of Malaysia and the COVID, where man thought he was powerful and nothing can be done beyond him. God had otherwise plans. So likewise today, if you think that technology will take care of everything, we are again mistaken. Technology can only provide a small help us to do things, but at the same time, it is the basics which we have to stick to. And as sir rightly said, the professional skepticism, it is only then it is possible. And on things which the profession is going, probably he beautifully put it that it is a willpower to tell the people that you are making a wrong comparison of things, and how an audit, not that this is going to benefit our fraternity, he was mentioning that it could lead to a big disaster, and they should not miss out the bigger picture that a lot of things in PSU banks is not being taken care. It can lead to bigger trouble with the way things are happening actually. And he gave a beautiful example of how to even dispose a hard disk, and that does not apply to bank, it applies to our chartered accountant's office also. We just cannot sell a system just like that. We have to ensure that we discard the hard disk, properly dispose that, and then sell the other items. So all the small precautions, it does not just apply to the banks. Gone those days where few of the audit parameters used to only apply to bigger things. Say कि ये बड़ा client है तो करना है या अपना firm बड़ा है तो करना है. Today, if you are doing an audit for a big person or a small person doing an audit for the smallest person, the same expectations are there by institute today, and we have to kind of follow it. Today, probably I try to bring a small roadmap as to how organized we can be. That's how technology can help. Beyond that, it is not possible actually for technology to help. But nevertheless, as sir rightly said, we'll have to kind of make technology to do things easier so that you cannot do it the traditional way and take more time to do the audits. So I'll share my screen. Okay, this screen is visible. I'll have to reduce the window. Okay. Yes.
Sir,
click
please
this.
repeat, sir.
It will
Your audio
open.
is missing in between. So please repeat, and you can post in the chat box also and in the question tab also.
Yeah. Virag, you can do that because GoToWebinar code, I'm not comfortable as to where I have to click that. Shall I send it in one of the things to you. I have to put in chat. 1 second. I have to put it to entire audience. Okay. Can somebody confirm? Virag, is the link come in chat? Yeah, you also copied. Great. So this is the link where you get a link for the Google Drive, and just for everybody's benefit, though many will know it, you just select the folders, don't click anything, select the folders, right click and say download. All the files will get downloaded at one go, so that you don't have to do it. If you don't do it and you try to open it here, it will open in Google Sheets and Google Docs, where you might not get the same comfort which is required. But however, if you are comfortable, you can do it. In fact, for a lot of other things, I do use Google Sheets. So coming to the contents which are there in this Google Drive for you, the first four folders are nothing but your guidance note 2023, which has been the replica there, so that it's available for you at one go, where you are not at the mercy of internet connection or anything, where you can start doing the work. Second is a practical reference for the branch audit, which contains all the checklists and the control sheets, which is available in Excel and Word format only. So you can download that and make use of it, and probably modify it the way you want to do it as well. And then some of the must-read materials, including the Excel, ebooks, and ICAI journal materials. And the last one being the technical guide on the revised LFAR. It's a different thing that already 2 years have elapsed after we had the revised LFAR. And then I've added the other speakers' contents, including the latest one by CA Kuntal Shah. Probably Dhananjay Gokhale sir's material I'll be getting tomorrow. I'll update that. I request you to constantly see this link every 2 days or 3 days once, because I may keep updating it and you may find some useful information which can be picked for your usage actually.
Sir, the Google Drive link is also mailed to all the registration, all the registered and all the attendees as well. Who is registered on GoToWebinar, who is watching on LinkedIn and on YouTube, they can register and they will immediately receive that link as well. Sir, please continue.
Okay. And then there is one folder where the Finacle key commands are given, which can be used for you to facilitate the audit actually. Now the last but one sheet is the most important sheet for us, which I'm going to cover today, the control sheet. I'll probably open not in Google Drive, because as I told you, it will open in Google Sheets. I'll be little bit fast in some places, little bit slow in some places. Kindly bear with me, because I wanted to spend time on things which are really important. So between the files which you are when you go to the bank, ensure that you go for the download files yourself rather than waiting for somebody else to do it. And if the choice is available of an Excel file, kindly use the Excel file, so that it is going to save a lot of time in formatting. And most important thing is documentation. Many times we have seen we do the work beautifully well, but when it comes to documentation, we miss out the part. And today, with peer review board, quality review board, and the Center for Audit Quality all coming, the documentation requirements are at its highest. And probably today, the immediate thing which institute or any regulatory asks is, sir, you have given this certificate or you have certified this, can you please provide us on what basis you have did this? So it is very important today that you have documentation for all what being done is done. And though you would have did the job properly, if you are not able to provide the same, it is generally suspected that you have not discharged your duty properly. So kindly take care of that. And today's concept, I mean today's program's theme is to strengthen your concepts, so that you can try to do the audit, just not the bank audit, but any audit effectively. And probably few points which are covered today in LFAR, we are going to use technology. Probably all what is there in LFAR actually can be effectively done using technology or Excel. And when you are going to pick samples, one small piece of advice, don't just pick the top 5 or top 10 samples. you don't miss out to pick the current year samples also. And one more thing, don't use a new laptop just before the audit. Use the one which you are used to, so that you don't waste time in trying to explore new things during the course of the audit. And very importantly, which is applicable for entire Excel and as well as many of the operations in life, that there is no single way to get things done. There are multiple ways. So whichever way you are comfortable, you do it. But if you can find a way which is going to save your time, please learn to do that, so that you're able to achieve a lot of other things rather than spending time on those things. And one more very important thing, backups. Ensure that all the data are intact in either OneDrive or Google Drive or in cloud, because my experience is I had a 2B hard disk and 158 crashed and I lost all my data. And the next question that may come up is, sir, how safe or good it is? It is as good as the safety is as good as having it in your office. If a thief can come to your office and steal things and go, same is the case here. Only thing is, you should not share the password and then blame that I didn't share the password and this happened. That you have to be careful with. And lastly, computers and technology, they said, are going to make life easier. Yes, they have made life easier, but at the same time, they have made our life challenging as well. I've listed down all the important standards on auditing, which I will request everybody to go through once. Probably in a day or two, I will change this file with proper links, where if you click the link, this will take you to the standard on auditing. If you have gone through that, this will help you to do the audit effectively. I always tell, the standards on auditing are like your insurance. If you have did the job properly, this will help you to see that you are not kind of put yourself into trouble. So please take care of all the standards on auditing, and importantly, the SQC one, which is also mandated by the institute for every assignment you do. So this one sheet where you capture the basic information about the auditee, about the bank details, the name, the manager, so that after 1, 2 months or 6 months, you need to communicate to the branch, or you need to know who the manager was. It might not be possible for you to recollect manually. So it's easy, you record down things and keep your mind free, so that all is available in the Excel file itself. Now, I put in such a way that where you could take sheets of all this very, very easily, so you can take it and make benefit of it. And then I've added few requirements which you can, this will act as a checklist for you to know what to do and what are the records you have to maintain. Like you need to have your audit acceptance letter. You need to definitely communicate to the previous auditor. There is a requirement that you have to communicate to the previous auditor, though this is a bank branch audit where RB is intervening to appoint you actually. And I've given a small format here, which you can of course change it the way you want, where you're going to write to the previous auditor to get the confirmation. And very importantly, it has to be either through registered post with acknowledgement due or through the hand delivery. But one more thing which institute came during COVID, and we can also use it now because the same is not being removed, is this. The communication to the retiring auditor can be done through email. There was a small announcement which came on 1st May 2020. The only catch here is, if you are going to write an email to the person, you ensure that the acknowledgement of such communication is received from the retiring auditor's email. If you are not going to get a reply, you can be in trouble. So please ensure that you get a reply. If you are not getting a reply, send a post. You can commence the audit, but not get into major things, so that tomorrow if there is any objection and it tells the whatever work you have did might not be of any use, because you might not be able to complete the audit. And then the engagement letter, again, this is a must. I've tried to give a small format which can be modified by you to suit your needs, which again, as per the institute requirements, is must, and you have to take the signature from the branch manager before you complete the audit. And very importantly, the closing circular issued by the bank head office There's a general notion that it might not be applicable for us, but please go through that, because a lot of information, a lot of important communication we get to know only through this, so that we don't miss out on the last day or the day when we are trying to close the audit actually. And there may be some instructions specifically from the central statutory auditors which also may be looked into. So I've tried to add some important documents which might be required for you. You might add or modify whichever you feel fit. And the one in the last is the written representation, being the management representation. Please do not forget to get that, because a lot of things it is not possible for you to kind of get a reliance placed upon. So try to get the management representation so that it is easier for you to place your reliance. I've given a small sheet on the tracking of the certificates. You can keep adding it because this may change from bank to bank, with a small note on the whether the information is received for that or not, and the remarks if any. Friends, let me tell you, for all certificates what you issue, if you are going to issue a certificate with no supportive or no documentation, it is assumed that you have not discharged your professional duty properly. So for all the questions what you are going to answer, please see that you are having proper documentation and supporting. So a question may come up, sir, should I take photocopies of all the things what I see? Not necessary. Where it is important document, take a photocopy. Otherwise, make note in your working papers to tell that I have gone through those documents and then made note of things actually. That is more than enough. Then a small attendance tracker I have put where, so I'll just say yes, yes. And say this first partner only came for 2 days. Second partner came for this day. I can change the date to 1st April 2023. You will see every date has got changed actually. And you can see that the attendance certificate is actually ready with total mandates. In fact, few of the banks insist that the certificate of attendance has to be taken when you close the audit from the branch manager, so that when you are sending the bills and other claims, this will become handy for you to get things settled actually. And for those who are interested in exploring Excel to the next level, I've given some small formula here. You can go through it, but those who don't want to get into it can make use of this template so that you get a ready-made answer to how things are getting placed actually. And very importantly, Amarjit sir also mentioned about the frauds. Frauds, according to me, can be found out only by two ways actually. Can somebody, Virag, people can put anything in the chat box, right?
Sir, question tab. Please open question tab.
Okay. Okay. Can somebody tell me how, through your experience, you can share how you have found out frauds, or how frauds generally come to notice during audits? Maybe investigation is different, where you really find things. Under question and answers, I want few answers where people could tell that how generally frauds are unearthed or discovered actually during the course of an audit. Will these templates be sent to us for guidance? I have shared the link where which you can download it yourself. Yeah, this Excel is shared. Not getting cash in transit within 7 to 8 days. In fact, for cash shortage, if you are meaning, it is just 1 day. Okay, there are some valid answers coming. According to me, or the frauds, whichever, if you correlate, that have come to notice, is one, whistleblower. It is only if somebody makes and gives you an information about it, you will be able to find. And the second is always trial and error. You stumble upon something and then you find out, you probe further, you try to get into things and know that a fraud has actually happened. Beyond that, it is not possible to find fraud. And that is why they say you have to keep your ears and eyes open, because the moment there is some small information that is leading to suspicion, you should not ignore it, because ignoring it can put the auditor also into trouble. And even the cash shortages, which I told, if it is beyond a limit, you will have to report. The bank should have reported it within the same day. If it is not reported on the same day, then it tantamount to fraud and it should form part of your report action. Many people are asking the links. I will put it in Q&A again and in the chat also. So as far as concurrent audit is concerned, you can capture the information of the firms or the person who is doing the audit, and then review of the last 3 months, the December, Jan, Feb, because March would not be ready. So this will help you to get a small idea of how to plan your audit so that you don't miss out the important areas. The RBI audit, the inspection, the information given in the preceding year audit report, including your LFAR tax audit, if any, the IS audit, if the branch has been subject to, the revenue audits and stock audits conducted by the branches, and very importantly, if the branch has gone for some forensic audit, you get the information, see if there is any conclusion of frauds which have been recommended by the auditor actually. And any reports which I foresee have added, you can kind of make additions if there are any in that branch, or if you feel which are not relevant, you can even remove this. So this again will act as a tool where you can tell that you have gone through all those documents and it is based on this, you formed your opinion. And I always tell audit is not an investigation, because we do on a generalized basis, we have to somewhere place our reliance accordingly. So the counting of the cash, I've given a small template where you fill the information. Only request will be to, after filling the information, kindly take the printout of this and take the signature of the custodians of cash also. Many chartered accountants have seen they sign in the cash register, but they don't have a copy. So it is better you take a printout of this and keep a copy in your record, telling that these are your working papers and how the cash was tallied actually. And all the sheets which I've given, you can take printouts and probably keep it in your working papers. Now this particular sheet, I have put it in a single sheet, though it's a lengthier sheet. But if you feel that, no, I don't want in one page, let it come in 2 pages, you can go to page setup, go to fit to page and say 1, 2, 2. Many of you would have been doing it. But for those of you who don't know, you can make it to come in 2 pages as well. Now coming to second question, I have some shades. If I were to take a laser printout, the shades will not come good in a laser printout. In a color print, fine. But even color print, I don't want the shades, I just want the information. Now somebody can say, sir, go back, remove all the shades. Then I'll say, no, we have put conditional formatting. Then you'll say, remove the conditional formatting. Now my question to all of you is, I don't want to remove conditional formatting. I don't want to remove the shades. But at the same time, I don't want the shades to get printed. How is it possible? Can somebody put in the questions and answers? I'm very sure many of you would have did that when you are taking printouts, where you want certain shades to be there in the Excel sheet, but you don't want that to be when it is coming to printouts. Can I get 1 or 2 answers? Friends, I need few of the answers. Otherwise, online meetings are very difficult. Sitting before a system with nobody around you. Okay, still I have not got the answer. Anyway, I would like to continue to avoid want of time. Fine. What you can do is you can go to page setup. Okay, somebody says print setting, print plain paper. Print setting is fine, print plain paper. Okay, you almost got it. It is actually using black and white. I'll tell you how to do that. You go to page setup. It will open a dialog box of page setup, which will have 4 tabs. Of that 4 tabs, you go to the last tab, sheet. There is one option known as black and white. Just select that and say OK. By doing that, what is happening is, in the printout, none of the shades will come. You can see now all the shades are gone. So this will look a very, very decent printout. But the moment I come back to the Excel sheet, all my shades are intact actually. So you can make use of the techniques, because many a time I've seen people remove the shades when the printout are to be taken and they do a Control Z to undo things. You don't have to do that. You can go and select. Alternatively, you can go to page layout, select the sheet, go to sheet tab, select black and white and do a print preview. Both works the same way actually. Then if there are any ATMs linked to your branches, you have to ensure that that cash which is forming part of your balance sheet, you have to verify the cash in the ATM also. The jewel packs have to be reconciled to see that whatever there in the list is matching with the physical packs, which will generally never match, because there must be some genuine reasons about it, like the accounts would have got closed but jewel packs not collected. There would have been some litigation of some clients. There will be some legal aid certificates pending. Try to get all the information as to what is pending, so that you are very sure that there is nothing suspicion or no suspicious activity in those. And additionally, what you can do is, few of the sample packs you can verify the weight, few of the samples you can verify the quantity. And if you are suspicious about things, you can even get a appraiser from the nearby branch come and test the purity of the gold also, which according to my opinion, it is not required unless there are reasons for you to do that. But if you do it also, there is nothing wrong in it actually. Then the physical stationery of your DD, pay order, FD receipts, checkbook, ATM cards, all those things can be noted, including the postal stamps, revenue stamps, all those things can be captured here. This will help you to draft your points in LFAR later actually. Then the capturing of information of locker. Only thing you have to be careful is locker. The most of the banks follow the cash system of accounting and not the accrual system of accounting. It may vary from bank to bank. Ensure that the accounting policy which is being followed is matching with the books that is maintained. The reason why I'm telling is, most of the times the locker operations is kept outside the CBS. So some batch file runs and this data goes to the CBS as far as the fees and other charges are concerned. So ensure that those things are properly synced or being aligned to actually. There's one question in LFAR which says whether the bank generally maintains the cash balances which vary significantly with the limits given by the controlling authorities. I have given one ready-made example where this particular branch had 2 limits set during the year. So based on this, I have given the formula and how things work. What we will do is I will try to give a small demo of how things work if there is going to be one limit. So I'll go to this raw data, cash balancing file, Control A, copy the data, Control V. Do Control A, do autofit, remove the unnecessary columns, remove the top unnecessary rows. Sorry. And now to select the entire data, generally shift control down arrow will work, but if there are space, you have to use shift control end. This will select the entire range. Now I will add filter. Once the filter is added, what I will do is I will just put this into descending or ascending order. So all the data is now intact. Now what I have to do is I just have to knock off the ones which I don't want after the last date. Right click, delete. I'll remove the unnecessary columns also. Now I have to remove this minus because I want the cash balance. Cash balance is generally positive, but the report which got generated for me had a minus symbol before it. How do I get this number converted to a positive number? Absolute function, perfect. So I can use one function known as ABS, which is short form for the absolute function. I get the answer. Sometimes you might not get it if there are commas given as commas, that also has to be removed. Or I can use mathematically by giving this number into -1. Both will give me the same result. And somebody rightly says replace hyphen with blank. Another way to do it, Control F or Control H. Find hyphen, replace, give nothing and say replace all. So there are multiple ways of doing things. You can do it the way you are comfortable. So I'll remove the ones I don't want. And let's fix the retention limit as 10 lakhs, say. So I'll say equal to if open bracket B2 is greater than D1. I will log D1 because I want that to be static and it should not change, comma. If my cash holding is more than the limit, then I am holding excess cash when it comes to the limit. And if it is within that figures, then I have to say it is within limits. I'll double click. I've got the analysis part done. Now let me check how many days it has actually exceeded and how many days it is within limits. Can somebody tell me which function should I be using for this? To find the number of days it has exceeded the limits and the number of days it has staying within the limits. Count if perfect. So I'll say equal to count if open bracket is asking me for the range. The range is C22 shift control down arrow. It will automatically select 366 and the criteria is E3. So I got 315 days. If I drag it, the total may not come to 365 because When I drag this, this got changed and one of the line item has got missed. So what I should have did is I should have locked this. Now if I drag, things will work. Now, alternatively, what I can do is if I'm going to select these kind of data again and again, I don't have to manually select the range, but I can name this range. How to name a range? C2 to C366. Once I've selected that range, you can see a small box called as name box, which is just above this alphabet ABC. I'll here say analysis. Now, the moment I say analysis, it will take me to some other sheet, which means already this name is given to me for this sheet, which I need to remove it. So how to remove that? I go to formulas, name manager. This analysis in cache are already there for some other sheet. So to make my life easier and not confusing, I'll remove these two. I removed it. Of course, that has disturbed that sheet settings, no problem. C2 to C66. Here I have to say analysis and say enter. That is very important. And similarly, I will do it for cache. Shift control down arrow. Cache enter. Now the same function. Somebody is asking, this is Google Sheet or Excel. I'm using only MS Excel. I'm still comfortable with MS Excel. Where I want a lot of people to work at a time, it is only then I use Google Sheets actually. So equal to same function, count if, open bracket. Now we'll say analysis, comma, E3, close bracket, select. Same thing we will do for minimum, maximum and average. We'll try to find what was the minimum balance, maximum balance and the average balance. Equal to minimum of the cash balance. I can select from B2 to B366. Alternatively, I can write cash because okay, cash is not coming because that has not got selected. So I'll select the cash range again. It's already there, cash. Then why this didn't come? Okay, I didn't give a equal to function before that. Link given opening a front, whoever is getting that file opening Google Sheet, on that file you right click and say download. I'll show you how to do that. On this file, you right click and say download. You double click, it will open in Google Sheet only. In fact, I think you have joined late because I covered this in the beginning only. So this is the minimum cash for the year. Max, close bracket, open bracket, cash, close bracket. I got the maximum cash and the average cash is this figure. Now for me, I need to know which day this minimum cash balance was there, which day the maximum balance was there. So I'll give VLOOKUP function equal to VLOOKUP, open bracket, select this range, comma. Now I have a trouble when I'm going to select this range because in this range, I'm going to find the value in V, but the output should always be on this side, which is on the right side, but this is on the left side. So for VLOOKUP to work correctly, what I have to do? I have to do a Control C, right click, right click, insert copied cells. Only if I do that, my VLOOKUP function will work. So equal to VLOOKUP, open bracket, select the value and select the table now. B2 to C2, select the entire range and very importantly, lock it afterwards by giving F4. comma. I am going to check from the first column and give the result from the second column. Since the result is from the second column, I have to type manually 2, comma 0. So copy this also. Now to convert this into dates, I'll go to home. Under the number tab, I'll say short date. So now I know on 22nd March, this was at its lowest. 31st January, it was at its highest. Only trouble in this function is if there are multiple options, it will stop with the first one, it won't go beyond that. If you want to really explore those dates, you'll have to again do it manually or use it filter and do it if there are actually more than one entries or not. So now I'm just trying to show before you the screenshot of the functions which I've used. And also what you can alternatively use is using the XLOOKUP function equal to XLOOKUP, which is available only in MS 365. Lookup value, comma. It is asking the lookup array. Lookup array is column B, comma. It is asking for the return array, which is column A. Here that left right things I don't have to worry. XLOOKUP is something which will work dynamically. Now select the format painter, copy it. Now you will see that the same result I'm able to achieve in a different way. So you can see for access and within limits, we use the same count if, one using the full range and one by naming the range and giving the name only. And here we use a VLOOKUP function and we use an XLOOKUP function, and you will see that XLOOKUP function looks very simple and clean where you can do things. So the message what I want to drive here is ensure that you go for the latest version of Excel. There are so much beautiful extra features where you can take benefit of this in MS 365. For example, I want to get all this amount filtered in alphabet order. I can just say equal to filter open bracket. I'll just select the few of the ranges and show it to you and see what happens. Sorry. Is it throwing an error? Okay, there is no parameter, it's not filter. I should have used, say, sort. Sorry. So whatever figures were there, it has automatically sorted. Whereas I gave only function in the one place, it itself has taken as the array function and helped me with the other results actually. So that is the beauty of MS 365, and I request everybody to go for the latest version so that you are able to take benefit of it. So now we'll go to the loan balancing file and try to pull those data and do analysis. Control A, Control C, Control V. Now if you see, I've got the data in the single cell. It is all in single column of A, and in one row I've got all the data. I need to split this data into proper columns, say product, the account number, the customer code, the name, the opening date, etc., etc. So can somebody tell me how to do that? How do we get the data from bank software in Excel? You might get in Excel or you might get in text file. If you get in text file, you can just do a Control C, Control V, that's all. Can somebody tell me how should I text to column perfect? I got one answer. So before going to text to columns, I would remove first the top rows which I don't want, which will save my time one. Second, I'll have to select the entire range. To select the entire range, the shortcut is Shift Control End. I'll do the filtering now. After applying the filter, I know there are product codes which I'm interested, which I'll take it separately. So I'll say text filters begins with PROD. So I've got this. Control C, right click, insert, Control V. There are multiple ways of slicing this data also. For easier things, I will again use the data text to columns and use fixed width and say that I just want these numbers, and others I'm not bothered about how they are together or not together. Finish. So this has not got segregated. Control Z. Text to columns again. Next, remove this, remove this. Okay, I should not have removed this. That was the problem. Finish. So now this is not required. I deleted it. This is not required. Deleted it. Now I want the product code and the type of the loan, or if I want a heading, I can write here also code and type. Coming back to this sheet, I'll remove these columns because I've already copied it elsewhere. Now I'll try to first slice these. Go to text to columns. I cannot use delimiter for the simple reason I'll tell you. If I use delimiter and say I'm going to use space and tab and say next and finish. The problem with that is all these names which are there is going to create trouble for me. You'll see how the names have got overlapped with the dates, rates, and the amount actually. Because somebody's name was KA something, all something, all those things have created trouble. So to avoid that, what I will do, text to columns, instead of delimit, I'll go for fixed width. Only thing is when you are using fixed width, you'll have to be a little slow and careful. When I'm doing it, it may look like that it has happened at one go. But friends, when I did this initially, it took me 5 to 6 times. So you need to have that patience. But one advantage is if you have patience for one time, then it becomes easy for you to do the analysis. So next, serial number, I'll put a slicer here. I'll put a slicer here. Then I'll put one here because customer code, I'm not bothered about the .0 behind. Names is fine, date is fine. Now on general thing, how I will say, you might put in the end actually. But though you put these lines in the end, you have to be careful with one thing. You have to just scroll and see if there is any issues with it. Most of the time it might be right, but if there is any issues, then you will end up redoing the exercise. So you please check it patiently to see if everything is fine or not. You can see now. You can see here there is a overlapping. And you can see this 2012 is getting filtered to 20 here and 20 here. So what I will do, instead of taking this line here, I'll move a little. I'll move this line also a little. Here, luckily, had it kept it here, this also would have created trouble if there is a paisa. Anyway, to play safe, I'll move this here also. Now say finish. Now I will select the entire range, do autofit, and remove the columns which I don't need. I don't need the column B, knock it off. I don't need the column D, knock it off. These account numbers should have been proper. So what I will do is select the range, go to control 1, change to numbers and fix decimal point as 0, or change it from the ribbon tab also. So now what I will do, I'll remove this filter, shift control and apply filter. After applying filter, Because I have serial numbers in this case, I will just say from smallest to largest, which means I'm able to get all the serial numbers at one go with ease. And beyond that, I'll have to just scroll and see if there is anything I may require. I could see all these things I don't want. If I want, I can retain it. Now that I don't want, I'll go for a delete. Before you go for validation of data, please do a cross check of whether things are right or not. So I'll do a sum calculation and see whether this sum and the raw data which is there is tallying or not. Control C. Yes, these two are perfectly matching. So my data is intact, there is no loss of data. I'll remove this. Now what we will do is, before we go and do a pivot on this, one common factor between these two is product code. I have product code here, but I don't have a product code here. So what do? I'll insert the column. I'll say product. Now I need to pull the 3 characters from this, which is the product, because for an account number, the first 3 or 4 digits are the sole ID or the branch ID. Then there is a product code, and then in that product, the account code is there. So here in this case, I need the 603. How to pull the 603 from this? Can somebody put in the chat, question box, how to pull 603 from this cell B2? Trim. No, trim won't work. Left also won't work, but you are coming nearer. Don't put all the options. One way you can do is you can use the slicer also and do it. You can go, say I'll insert 2 columns. Mid function is the right answer actually. Alternatively, what I can do is I'll select the data, go to text to columns, fixed width, next, and perfectly slice it with the 3 required lines. Say next, finish. I got it, and remove the unwanted lines. This is one way of doing it. Another way is using the mid function, equal to mid open bracket. It is asking for the text. I've selected the text, comma. It is asking me for the start number. My start number in this case is the 5th digit, because it is from there. Sometime outstanding balance amount is not in format, in text format. So sum is not working. How to deal with it? Hardik Takrar. Yeah, I'll tell you the solution for that also. So I complete this. So equal to mid open bracket. I've selected the text. I want the data from the 5th number. 5, comma. How many characters I need? I need 3 characters. 3 close bracket. So Control C, or straight away I can do a double click. I would have got it, and I'll do a Control C, right click, paste special values, so that there is no data. Now if you see, this is a number, but this is a text. I think Hardik, you are referring to these kind of data. Actually it is a number, but it is appearing as text to me. So one, I can go to home, try to change this to a number, but you see it will not work actually. I will even try to go to format cells by giving Control 1, go to number, decimal 0, still it will not work. Where you get a data like this, again I'm telling you, the example now which I'm giving you is applicable both for numbers as well as date. If you are getting a date which is looking like a date format but is not in the date format, or it is looking like a number but is not in the number format, for both there is only common things to do. Select the entire column, go to data, text to columns, one new use of text to columns which many of us don't know. So go to next, Here there is a third radio button, data DMY. Again, I'm telling you, this is not applicable only for date, it's applicable for numbers also. So just give finish. He says there is already data. Do you want to replace it? Yes. Okay, it has pulled my code and created a trouble. So I'll give another column. Now I'll do this. Data, text to columns, next, DMY, finish. This I remove it. Now you can see the output, which was number, which was not getting converted, has now got converted actually. No, error remover is only visibility. I am now trying to make this into number itself so that I can process the data, I can multiply, I can add. Otherwise, it might not be possible actually. So now that this is done, I will try to go with a pivot. So how to go for pivot? Insert, pivot table, select the range, select the entire data. Shift control down arrow, enter, enter. Now my pivot table is ready. I'm ready for the analysis. What I have to do is, first I'm interested about the product code. So this will give me the complete list of product code. Okay, product code has come like this, whereas because it is a number, had it been text, it would have come differently. So I'll say I want it in rows. So now I want all the products codes in row. Now what is it I'm bothered? I'm bothered about the liability. So I'll select liability. I've got the total of the outstanding loan. Now I'm bothered about the numbers of the number of accounts in that particular product code. So I'll select the name, put it under value. So I got the count of the name also. To ensure that there is no problem with data, I will copy this separately by using a paste special values. Now, having done this, let me check the percentage of the loans equal to sum of liability divided by the grand total, and the grand total should be locked because I want that to be permanent. I copy it. Now I have to change this to percentage. I give percentage, add 2 decimals. Now I can just add filter and say largest to smallest. Now if I cover the top 5 of these categories, I'm actually covering 96% of the loans. So I know that the branch comprises of 1,428 accounts only, which is 78% of the value. Now if I want to know which of these 1,428 accounts are there, I double click, Excel will open a separate sheet. What I will do is I'll say largest to smallest. Randomly I'll pick top 5 accounts. Then I will go for the newest date, pick 4-5 accounts from there. Then filter by color using yellow. Now this is what my analysis is going to be as far as my audit is concerned. At least my sample now is scientific and there is no bias in picking any samples. I can give my remarks as to how I reviewed it and did my job actually. So what would have taken a lot of time and things would have happened randomly, this is little easier actually. But as Amarjit sir rightly said, if there are going to be any deviations, it might not throw things correctly. And if you were to ask me, sir, can we identify NPS through this? It is actually impossible. Because all things have to be routed through CPS, whatever changes has to be done, they've already changed it. Now it is only based on trial and error you can do it. For example, I take this data of the loan balance. And then I say open date. Now you can see there is one loan account from the year 2006. So if there is a loan account from 2006, I can doubt it. I can call for the documents and verify. And friends, this has to be done manually. And this is what sir was mentioning, that for this, if I don't go to the branch and sit, it might not be possible for me to know. Sitting at head office or sitting at centralized office or sitting in a place where I'm not having access to documents, it is impossible to do that. Now, coming back to this analysis, what we did, there's one more wonderful information which this gives. One second. You will see these are the codes which we picked from the data. But there is one code known as 10 and one code known as 970, which never got captured in the product code actually. So when we are doing the audit, and this interesting thing came to our knowledge, and then later we found that actually these were some staff accounts which had got transferred because the staff coding is different, which does not come in this, and also they were from some other branches actually. So that was the reason it was different, and we were able to kind of get satisfied that things were right there as well. Sir did mention the review of the loans restructured during the year. This is the most important area where things could go wrong. These are all accounts which could be potential NPAs. Don't wait for the last minute. Try to get the information on day 1 or day 2 so that you can spend some quality time on reviewing these accounts, because these are the accounts generally where the bank doesn't want to immediately show it as NPA, or they just want to defer it for some more time actually. So you review this, you will try to explore if there are any accounts which have been NPA and that has got missed actually. Then the review of the fixed assets, in which the important thing is additions during the year where the date put to use should be captured properly. Then the leakage, if you have found out due to some trial and error that some charges which has got missed, please make note of it. Of course, the intent of the statutory audit is not to find leakages, but if you come across something, you can make note of it and ensure that whether the same is recovered or not. Then there are 2 points in LFAR telling that whether test checking of your interest revealed anything excess or short, or everything is fine. To satisfy yourself, be it loan account or be it deposit account, take a loan account. This is a summary of the loan account, and it is by manual checking to see whether it is right or not. The difference is very, very small, so we have ignored it because between 2.9 it is just 3 rupees and it is 3.33. So there is a rounding off difference which has been ignored. And same thing, I have pulled one FD account and seen what is the actual transaction which has happened, and depending on the rate of interest, what is the interest that should be. And we could see that it was almost certain with a small 10 paisa or 30 paisa difference actually. Only thing is, take smaller accounts, don't make your life complicated. Here a bigger account got picked actually. Then there is one more parameter in LFAR, that after the balance sheet date and till the date of the audit, whether you have seen any unusual large movements in the deposits. So this will help you to do if there are any major movements in the demand deposits and term deposits which have happened. In this case, we found there were 2 areas where there were major, but when it came to the amount, it was very small, it was immaterial, so we ignored it and went ahead. But if there are major things, you need to get their reply, and that reply also has to be recorded actually, and why there are unusually large movements within few days after the balance sheet date is over. Then you have to compare between the income and expenditure of the current year versus the previous year, and again see if there are any major deviations which the branch needs to reply to. Then comes the large advances. The whole LFAR dwells with this, that the large advances are those where the outstanding amount is in excess of 10% of the outstanding aggregate balance of fund-based and non-fund-based advances of the branch, or 10 crores, whichever is less. Now, in this case, we have the total loans figures. We have ODCC, which will not form part of the loan balancing file, which will have to be put separately. And then the non-fund based liabilities will have to be put. So I have added at the total figure. Now I'll put 10 crores. So the formula to arrive at that will be equal to minimum open bracket by total liability into 10% comma 10 crore, whichever is less. Now you can know that I'll put a comma here. Any loan which is beyond 8.49 crores qualifies under this, so which I have to make note of it and see that all those accounts are covered under large advances and do a critical review of it. And the immediate next point in LFR is you have to give the information of this account number, name, the balance at the year end of fund-based balance and the non-fund based balance and the total. So I've given a small template which will help you to prepare this information. And then you can add any other accounts which you are doing or you are reviewing it actually. So there was a question, sir, is there any stipulated percentage we should do? There is no such thing. Only thing is you should not miss out any large advances. If that is being missed, it is going to put you into trouble because that is something which is 100% required for you to do the audit of. If there are any suspense entries or suspense accounts, that has to be reviewed judiciously to see that those entries are cleared off at the earliest and how they have been cleared actually. And there is one point in LFR about that. Have you come across any quick mortality in accounts? Which means that where some accounts have become non-performing within 12 months. So how to check that? Now I have a list of accounts with the liability and the sanction date. So I'll type say 31st March 2023 and say equal to the close date, which I will lock it, minus the sanction date. I'll remove the filter, add the filter, and say smallest to largest. Now, all these accounts which have just got NPA within 365 days, sorry, one more account I missed. These are all ones which have been reported, and there are very many chances. These are all frauds actually. Of course, these many accounts will not crop up, but I had put some random dates. That's the reason these many accounts have got cropped. Similarly, there is one more point in LFR asking you to find that whether the bank has a system of identifying the inoperative accounts properly and the internal controls and the guidelines followed when these accounts have become operative. So how you can do that? You take the list of inoperative accounts as on 31st March 2022. Then you take the list of inoperative accounts as on 31st March 2023. Now, if you are going to compare these account numbers, accounts which are inoperative and later today they have become operative, which means, which is not there in this list, they have become operative. So I need to check whether proper documentation, KYC, and all the guidelines were followed. How do I check that? I just try to give a small example. I'll use a VLOOKUP here, equal to VLOOKUP, open bracket, select this, comma, select the whole table, and then log this, comma, 1, comma, 0. So by doing this, I will get to know exactly. So there are 4 accounts I come to know. They are not appearing in the current inoperative account also, which means they have got regularized or they have become operative. So I'll go now, remove the filter and pick these 4 accounts, share it, try to get the documents and see whether the guidelines have been properly followed or not. I don't have to randomly, because I recall when it was manual era, they'll give a box file. There won't be any report on this. So there we only used to pick these samples which are available. We will never get to know anything which has got missed. But now, because of this CBS, it is possible for you to pick the information which we can know whether they have actually complied or not. And most of the times we have seen they generally complied actually. Then I've given a small sheet on the UDIN also, so that you don't have to run on the last day. You can keep things ready then and there. Where you can keep the information filled here so that it becomes easy for you. Only few points in LFR is, UDIN is, for the audit report, LFR and certificates, whether you are going to sign it manually or digitally, there is only single UDIN required. If you are doing tax audit report, additional UDIN is required. And only one request is, which the institute FAQs mandates, it is not mandates, it suggests is, please prepare a covering letter for all the certificates to avoid misuse of UD, so that tomorrow nothing gets added actually. And if you are going to issue UDIN, if you are going to issue certificates on different dates, please ensure that separate UDIN is generated. Don't use the same UDIN. And if it is going to be signed by one partner, say I have signed all the papers, certificates, and the audit report for one of the branches. Tomorrow the branches come and told, sir, we missed 2 certificates. Can you please verify and give it to us? And I'm not there to sign, and my partner does it. He can do that, but he also has to log in through his UDIN, through his credentials, and then generate separate UDIN and give them the certificates actually. And of course, for joint auditors, every joint auditor will have to generate the separate UDIN. This small sheet I maintain has to keep a track of which things are pending. So I've asked last year, preceding year's LFAR. I just make a note so that I know that the bank person has to give me this. The moment he gives this, what I do is I type something known as Control-5. When you type Control-5, what happens? It actually strikes off. And I type Control-5 again, it's a toggle switch which undoes the thing actually. So this will act as a helping tool for you to know what you had asked and whether the information came or not. Because many times we have seen 1 or 2 information would not have come and would have actually finalized the audit also. So let's not do that. Let's see that all what we want we get, and then we finalize the audit. And last, very importantly, the management representation. Though I have given the format which I showed you initially, there might be some points which keep coming to our notice then and there. Please make a note of this in this Excel sheet as and when you do the audit, so that tomorrow it becomes easy. You have to just write one small one-liner about it. You can elaborate it once you are preparing the MR, so that you don't miss out the points which you have to get the management representation for. So friends, only these things from my side. And as I always tell, sky is the limit where you want to use technology, and it is upon your interest how much additional things you want to do. But in today's scenario, it has become all the more important that maximum things are done with ease, and at the same time not forget the basics, so that tomorrow you don't lose out the important part and just get concentrated on technology only. Virag?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful deliberation. And we get a great response and great feedback from the participants. Wonderful explanation and input, sir, will help a lot in documentation part of audit. There are so many is asking for the recording. Yes, it is also available on YouTube, and also we have updated their the Google Drive link also. So if you join little late, you can download the entire Google Drive, all the document as well. And sir is also updating in a few days. So please go again and refresh after 1 or 2 days. You will get some updates there also. There are so many other comments also, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. It was very informative, very good session. And there are so many comments from the participant side, sir. So all the credit to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful delivery.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe don't know, for some reason I'm not able to see any of the videos actually, neither yours nor mine.
Which sir?
No, some trouble in my system. Okay. I'm not able to see the video. I'm just telling actually.
Okay. We can see you, sir. We can see you.
Okay.
And we can see the PPT also, sir. So thank you, participants, for joining. Thank you, Rupesh ji, for joining. Thank you, Kavita ma'am, also for joining. Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Thank you, Pradeep sir, for joining. We have more and more comments also now, sir. from participants. Very useful lecture. Thank you so much from Rucha ma'am. Subramaniam Iyer sir, useful session sir. Thanks a lot. K. Rajagopal sir, nice, useful presentation. Manoj Kosar sir, thanks for wonderful session. So there are so many comments. I would like to request everyone to go back again if you are not watching from the beginning or any part of is missing. You can go through again on YouTube. It's already available. You can download all the files, and also you can prepare your entire audit stuff as well. Krishna ji, very well. Webinar is very excellent presentation, guidance, information. Thank you, sir. A very useful session, Gaurang ji. Ram Babu sir, very excellent session. I think Deepak ji want to say something. Deepak ji, let me try now. It's Deepak ji, from your side there is some issue. Will not able to unmute you. So you can, whatever you want to say, please post in the question tab. Will not able to unmute you, Deepak ji. So I think with this we can conclude our today's session. Rupesh ji, you would like to say something, Rupesh Jain ji? You also attended the entire session, Rupesh ji.
Thank you, Virag, for organizing the seminar. Thank you, sir, for such a beautiful, explanation of the technology, how to use it, and we are glad that you are part of this. Thank you, and thank you, participants.
Thank you all. So with this, we are concluding our today's session, and we'll come up with more future webinar, future aspect on technology aspect, on regular aspect of GST income tax as well. So we'll share the presentation is already shared, Ramana ji, in the Google Drive. You can check that as well. So with this, we are concluding session. Thank you once again, Dungar and Jain sir, for the very memorable sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Virag. Thank you so much. I've also improvised the Excel template from last year, actually.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.